country has more opportunities. And and his parents had a beautiful house, came from a very rich family.
All right.
And he said that you can just live in my parents' house because there are plenty of rooms. It's just overlooking the lake.
Wow.
They have a boat. They even have a music room separated from the main house so that you can make as much noise as you want.
As you want, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I took on his invitation, and I met his parents, and they were wonderful people. And they just welcomed me.
Was the experience good?
It was a fantastic experience, yes.
Were you able to perform concerts?
I was able to perform concerts with him and without him.
Okay.
And eventually I was offered a job at the music conservatory there, at the Royal Music Academy in Copenhagen.
Oh, okay.
And also at the International People's College.
Okay.
Up in Elsinore. It's about 100 kilometers away from north of Copenhagen.
So you were a lecturer? Did you teach?
A lecturer, yes, I was teaching. And that's where I met my husband. So, must have been good.
I see. So you met your husband there, up north, 100 kilometers or so up, north in Copenhagen.
That's right.
You had gone there to teach. What was your husband doing there?
He was sent as a trainee from the foreign ministry. You get your special language.
Okay.
So for my husband, Danish language was his special language.
Okay.
He had to train it. And so he came to Denmark. He had 2 years of training period.
Okay.
And after 2 years, he was to enter the Japanese embassy in Copenhagen to start working. So during 2 years, well, he just happened to come to my college to do some training. Because my college, where I was teaching, we were using both English and Danish as a means of instruction.
All right. All right. So that's where you met him.
That's
and
right.
I'm interested in the meeting and all that it led to. But that is
I'm not going too much deep into that.
But no matter how lightly or deeply you go into it, we'll get a bit of that. I'm interested in talking about her meeting with her husband at this stage. And,
Forget about it,
please. We are not overly emphasizing on that, though. But you did meet him.
Yes,
and,
I did.
In Denmark. And he's Japanese like you are,
yes.
obviously.
Yes.
And you decided to marry him.
Yes, yes. But my first impression of him was really terrible. And the same was with him. Yes.
I see.
So it wasn't anything like love at first sight.
Okay. So what changed?
Well, you know, because living in Denmark is a very, very emancipated nation. And when it comes to women's liberation and social justice, human rights, all these fields, Denmark is probably 20, 30 years ahead of us, even if you compare with Japan. And so at that time, I was very much a liberated, strong woman, trying to be, pretending to be. And so I hated Japanese men. My image of Japanese men was a conservative one. And I thought, and then here was a young diplomat coming from the foreign ministry, driving around in a big, beautiful, smart car. And I thought, ugh, you know. So yeah, he came. He was actually very polite. He came to say hello to me, to pay me respect, because he knew that there was a Japanese lady lecturer at the college. So he had to say hello and to present himself, and I was sort of looking down on him and saying,
But I'm sure after some time, he managed to break the ice, as they say. And then way led to way. Now you have two sons with him?
Yes.
How old are they?
Well, they're quite big already. 21. He goes to the university in Tokyo.
What's his name?
His name is Shogo.
Okay.
He's 21, and so he's there alone, living on his own. And then we have another one who is here in Ghana with us.
How old is he?
He is 18.
18.
Daichi. And he goes to the American International School.
Okay.
And he's graduating this coming June.
Great. But basically, your concert, Saturday the 11th of February 2012, is one we all have to attend. You don't have to miss it. We have to pay only 120 Ghana cedis as a contribution to the Infantile Malaria Prevention Foundation. And just so you have an idea of what you'll be getting, let's watch this insert, which is it comes to us from 2010, 2nd October, I believe. Watch this and enjoy. Melissa, Infantile Malaria Prevention Foundation, as we know, it is this foundation that is presenting the Night of Classical Music, where Naomi will be performing, and of course Kokui Salome, who we saw on doing soprano, will be singing, and I know Antonio Watts will be there with his baritone voice as well. Can you throw a little bit of light on the program as you've planned it?
Well, the Infantile Malaria Prevention Foundation, we annually hold an event aimed at raising funds to underwrite the cost for a specific project that we'd like to undertake in our activities for preventing malaria through education and community outreach. And given the success that we enjoyed with last year's performance, that was simply breathtaking, I have to tell you, we were encouraged to enjoy the benefit of having Naomi's membership in our organization for another year and host another concert. And we thought that having an event around Valentine's Day with the theme of love, songs that inspire love, with Naomi playing and accompanying Kokui Salome from here in Ghana and Mr. Antonio Watts from Chicago, would be a wonderful addition to the wonderful concert that we had last year.
Great, but really, what is the Infantile Malaria Prevention Foundation about? What does it do? When was it set up? What are its objectives and things like that?
The Infantile Malaria Prevention Foundation was founded in 2005. We're just 7 years old in February. Okay. And it was founded by a very small group, about 17 very dynamic women who are primarily professional women, business owners, educators, who have a very strong interest in doing everything that we can to help minimize the impact of malaria on women, particularly pregnant women and children. And our small group has, ever since 2007, gone out into communities throughout the length and breadth of this country to do cleanup exercises, to distribute insecticide-treated nets, to educate people on understanding what malaria is, how to recognize the symptoms, and the importance of seeking treatment as quickly as possible to minimize the most harmful risks of malaria. And what's very fulfilling at this stage, 7 years in, is that when we're going into the communities at this point, we're seeing that people are more educated, people are more aware of how to respond, and we get a great sense of satisfaction that perhaps at some point the deaths resulting from malaria will be diminished because people will be educated.
How do you get Naomi to come on board?
Pardon?
How did you get Naomi to come on board?
It's really a blessing that we have because of our very small group. We have about 16 executive members that we're mostly Ghanaian people.
Okay.
But we also have a few members of the diplomatic community, wives of ambassadors or deputy ambassadors, as in the case of Naomi, who lend their talents and their strength to promote our cause. Very often, they will use their official residences for fundraising activities. They will invite performers from their respective countries to host cultural events. And in our case, we have an exquisite concert pianist in our membership and a very active member as well. So we've been very lucky to attract her to assist us in accomplishing our goals.
What would you say has been the benefits of all that you've tried to do so far? Are you able to measure progress? And are you able to say that this is how much we have done?
Well, our first major project took place in a town called Atoko in the Volta region.
Yeah.
And we went and did a very comprehensive, not only cleaning and spraying exercise, but an educational exercise. And we work in conjunction with an organization called Acts in Africa. Okay. Acts in Africa is an NGO that is comprised of physicians, nurses, phlebotomists, healthcare professionals of all different stripes that go out into the communities to do, we give them the resources to do testing, treatment, to distribute medications and education. And what we noticed after our first comprehensive project in Atoko, when we revisited the community and we looked at the records at the local community hospital, the incidence of admissions for malaria had diminished considerably. So our belief is that our model works. Okay. And we do it independently. We don't really rely on any governmental assistance, but we do work in conjunction with the Malaria Control Board and where we have the opportunity. So by getting out there, by getting hands-on into the community, doing grassroots work, donating equipment to communities, teaching them how to spray, how to clean the areas properly to prevent the accumulation of water that leads to the malaria conditions, where we're having a positive impact.
Great. Let me come back to Naomi and ask you. So, can you? I don't know. We don't have a piano. I would have loved to have a further foretaste of what is to come. But of course, we've seen quite a bit of it already. But what should patrons, those who come, expect? What are you going to give them when they come to the Movenpick?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that music is the most powerful peace messenger.
Wow.
This I can say through my experience of playing in so many different countries, and audience who are Muslim, Christian, non-believers, of any nationality, speaking so many different languages, but music just transcends everything. This is my experience. And also, that's what I felt after the first concert that I gave in Ghana. And it has power to bring people together, and especially when we have a very clear goal, such as what we are trying to do with this concert. So we are all coming together to, for a very important, clear cause. And I believe that, especially with a title like Night of Love, music inspired by love. So I encourage all the couples to come together. It'll be a very, very romantic evening. And music is not only, love is not only between man and woman. Love is something very, very big. Love for God, love for life, love for friends, love for family, love for your own country. These are going to be the theme of the evening. So I'll be performing pieces that represent